Today didn't wait for you to catch up. The world moved fast again. News filled with tension, uncertainty, pressure. People trying to survive, not just live. Expectations rising. Costs rising. Stress becoming normal. And in the middle of all that, you still had to function. You answered messages. You handled responsibilities. You showed up even when your energy didn't. Let's be honest, today took something out of you. Not everything went wrong, but not everything felt right either. There were moments you had to push yourself. Moments where your mind wouldn't slow down. Moments where you felt pressure from every direction. And yet, you made it here. That matters more than you think. Because some people gave up today. Some people shut down. Some people are still overwhelmed right now. But you're still here. Still standing. Still thinking. Still holding on. That's not weakness. That's quiet strength. And whether you realized it or not, that strength didn't come from you alone. God carried you. Not in a loud, dramatic way. Not with visible signs. But in the kind of way that keeps you going when nothing around you feels steady. That's the kind of goodness we often miss. Because we expect God to show up in big, obvious moments. But most of His work in your life happens in the ordinary. The unseen. The unnoticed. Think about it. You didn't fall apart today even though you could have. You kept going even when your motivation was low. You made decisions even when you weren't fully sure. That's grace in motion. The Bible tells the story of Elijah. After a major victory, he didn't feel strong, he felt exhausted, afraid, and ready to give up. He ran, sat down, and said, "I've had enough." And what did God do? He didn't respond with pressure. He didn't demand more strength. He gave him rest, food, sleep, and time. Then he gently reminded him that he wasn't alone. That's practical. That's real. God didn't ignore Elijah's exhaustion, He met him in it. And tonight, He's meeting you the same way. Not asking you to pretend you're okay. Not expecting perfection. Just inviting you to come as you are. Because the truth is, you're carrying things. Things you didn't say out loud today. Things you pushed aside just to get through. Thoughts that kept circling in your mind. Concerns about tomorrow. Questions without answers. That's real life. And God is not distant from that. He sees it. Every detail. Every emotion. Every moment you almost broke but didn't. That's why reflection matters tonight. Not shallow gratitude. Real reflection. Looking at your life honestly and still recognizing that God has been good. Even here. Even now. Think about your past. There were situations you thought would take you out. Moments where you didn't see a way forward. But somehow you made it through. Not because everything worked out perfectly, but because God sustained you. Joseph didn't understand it when his life fell apart. He was betrayed, sold, and forgotten. Nothing about his situation looked like God was good. But later, he said something powerful. What was meant for evil, God used for good. That wasn't immediate. It wasn't easy. But it was real. And your story is no different. Right now, you may not understand everything. Why certain things happened. Why certain things didn't. Why things feel delayed or uncertain. But that doesn't mean God isn't working. It just means you're in the middle of the process. And the middle never looks clear. It looks confusing. It feels unfinished. It tests your patience. But God's goodness doesn't disappear in the middle. It's working through it, quietly and consistently, even when you don't feel it. Let's bring this into real life. Maybe today you were dealing with financial stress, thinking about bills, responsibilities, and your future. Maybe you were dealing with emotional weight, overthinking conversations, or carrying things people don't even know about. Maybe you were dealing with pressure from work, from expectations, from trying to keep everything together. That's real. And God's goodness doesn't ignore those things. It meets you inside them. Sometimes His goodness looks like provision. Sometimes it looks like strength. Sometimes it looks like simply getting through the day without breaking. And tonight, that counts. Don't overlook that. Because if you keep overlooking what God has already done, you'll start believing He hasn't done anything. And that's not true. David didn't face Goliath based on how he felt in that moment. He faced Goliath based on what God had already done. The same God who delivered him before would deliver him again. That's the mindset reflection builds. Not denial of reality, but confidence in God's consistency. So tonight, shift your perspective. You're not starting from zero. You're standing on evidence. Evidence that God has been faithful before. Evidence that He didn't leave you then, and He won't leave you now. Now bring everything to Him honestly. God, I come to you tonight without pretending. You saw this day. You saw the pressure, the thoughts, and the moments I felt stretched. You saw everything I carried. And even in the middle of it, you were there. So first, I say thank you. Thank you not just for the obvious things, but for the hidden ones. Thank you for sustaining me. Thank you for keeping me steady when I felt off. Thank you for the strength I didn't realize I had. I didn't do this alone. You were with me. Forgive me for the times I overlooked that. Forgive me for focusing more on what went wrong than what went right. Tonight, I choose a different perspective. Not ignoring reality, but trusting you in it. God, there are real things on my mind. Things I can't fix immediately. Things that carry weight. I'm not pretending they don't matter, but I'm also not carrying them alone anymore. I bring every worry, every question, every pressure to you. Your word says to cast my cares on you, so I release them now. Take this stress. Take this overthinking. Take this mental noise that won't stop. Replace it with peace that is real and steady. Help me trust you with what I can't control. I've been trying to manage everything, and it's exhausting. So tonight, I let go of the weight that was never mine to carry. Remind me that you are in control. Calm my thoughts. Silence the fears that keep replaying in my mind. Replace them with truth that I am not alone, that this is not the end, and that you are still good. As I sleep tonight, restore me. Not just physically, but mentally and emotionally. Strengthen what feels drained. Heal what feels heavy. Reset my mind so I don't wake up carrying the same weight. Protect my peace tonight. Guard my thoughts. Let nothing disturb the rest you are giving me. And when I wake up tomorrow, give me clarity, focus, and strength for what's ahead. I don't have everything figured out, but I trust that you do. Thank you for your patience. Thank you for your consistency. Thank you for your goodness, even when I didn't recognize it. I rest in that tonight. Amen. Stay here for a moment. Don't rush this. You don't need to solve everything tonight. You don't need to figure out tomorrow. Some things can wait. Some things need to be released. God is already holding what you've been trying to carry. He's not overwhelmed by it. Not your problems, not your questions, not your situation. So you don't have to be either. Let your shoulders relax. Let your breathing slow. Let your mind loosen its grip. Today is done. You showed up. Even when it was hard, even when it felt heavy, you kept going. And God was with you in it. Not one moment missed. Not one detail ignored. His goodness was there in your strength, in your protection, in the fact that you made it through. And that same goodness is still here. Not fading. Not running out. Still working. Still covering you. So tonight, you can rest. Not because everything is perfect, but because God is still in control. Sleep knowing you are not alone. Sleep knowing you are supported. Sleep knowing this is not the end of your story. God's goodness is still writing it. And tomorrow, it continues.